Did a zero in, like we zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight, Dan. Look at this. I invite the viewers to take
really good thing to have as an actress. But you're completely right.
Yeah, I guess everybody falls down one side or the other. Do you support Harry?
Meghan Markle's recent podcast appearance with Jamie Kern Lima sparked yet another round of media frenzy, but not for the reasons she might have hoped. What was intended as a heartfelt discussion about empowerment, vulnerability, and womanhood quickly turned into a PR nightmare. Joe Rogan, known for his candid and often unfiltered opinions, wasted no time in calling out Meghan's emotional display as fake and overproduced. With her sniffles and dramatic pauses, Meghan's attempt to show vulnerability was dissected under Rogan's scrutiny, as he pointed out the glaring absence of real emotion. But this wasn't just about her tears. It was about the bigger picture, Meghan's public persona, and how it's been crafted for maximum impact. In this script, we'll take a closer look at Joe Rogan's take on the Meghan Markle PR disaster, from her emotional breakdown to the deeper implications of her brand-building efforts.
Did a zero in, like we zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight, Dan. Look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear? There's nothing there. Look, it's an actor's trick. She just keeps wiping and wiping and wiping, so we think she has a heart.
Meghan Markle's appearance on Jamie Kern Lima's podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, was billed as a raw and vulnerable conversation. However, things quickly took a turn when Meghan attempted to show a deeply emotional side. During the interview, Meghan sniffled, paused dramatically, and wiped her eyes, trying to present herself as a woman overcoming adversity. But Joe Rogan, with his usual no-nonsense approach, saw through it. He pointed out that while Meghan did everything except cry, there wasn't a single tear in sight. There was no smudged mascara or red eyes. Instead, there was a perfectly lit face, an actress-like performance, and nothing real. Rogan's sharp eye and candid analysis left no room for doubt. What was supposed to be a moment of raw emotion looked more like an act. Rogan's critique exposed the charade for what it was, further pushing public skepticism about Meghan's authenticity.
This podcast with Jamie Kern Lima was absolutely car crash. I mean, Jamie Kern Lima is actually a very successful woman, self-made billionaire. However, she is a fame whore because, she first found fame
Yes.
by appearing on the first series of Big.
Joe Rogan didn't mince words when it came to calling out Meghan's emotional performance. While Meghan tried to convey the image of a woman in crisis, Rogan was quick to highlight the lack of real emotion in her display. "Where's the tear?" he asked, laughing, as he pointed out the obvious absence of any visible signs of real sorrow. Meghan's dramatic pauses and sniffles, while clearly scripted, failed to elicit the intended sympathy. Instead of feeling authentic, it came off as a performance, almost like an audition for a role. Rogan joked that if you're going to cry on camera, you should probably bring the tears, pointing out that the lack of them made it obvious this was a carefully constructed act. Joe's take on the situation echoed what many viewers were thinking. This wasn't an emotional breakdown. It was a calculated PR move.
Yeah, I guess everybody falls down one side or the other. Do you support Harry and Meghan? Do you not?
It's bad, right? She's just powerful. She's
Actually, that's a good point. Harlot and temptress.
yeah, I think harlots are.
It's like comparing melons to apples.
Yeah, that's a whole
I
word.
take that back.
Yeah.
It's a her.
Yeah, I don't think she's that.
No.
Which she is.
No.
Beyond the emotional performance, Meghan's interview lacked any real substance. What was meant to be a meaningful conversation about empowerment, struggle, and success quickly devolved into a series of empty buzzwords and over-the-top praise. Meghan repeatedly called Prince Harry an amazing partner. Not once, not twice, but 5 times in a row. Joe Rogan, ever the critic, dismissed this as a weird fan letter read out loud, further undermining the interview's credibility. Rather than diving into genuine topics of personal growth or struggles, Meghan seemed to be checking boxes, talking about motherhood, naming her husband, sprinkling in some emotional moments, and calling it a day. The interview felt like a performance, and not a particularly convincing one. Joe called it what it was, a PR campaign, disguised as an empowering conversation. It wasn't real, it wasn't raw. It was a well-curated spectacle.
States, but she's had that totally scrubbed from the internet because now she believes that she's the new Oprah Winfrey. And the problem is, you realize these are the types of people Meghan Markle is surrounding herself with. And listen to the new episode today of Confessions of a Female Founder. You know, she calls everyone female founders, and I know you find that very, very ridiculous, as do I. And it's with this British woman called Hannah Mendoza.
What Meghan Markle failed to realize is that her attempted vulnerability felt painfully scripted. Instead of seeming like an authentic conversation, the interview had a heavily produced feel, almost as if Meghan was following a checklist of things to say in order to portray a perfect image. The chemistry between Meghan and Jamie Kern Lima was awkward, stiff, and forced. It seemed as though Meghan wasn't really there to connect or converse, but to sell a carefully crafted storyline. The over-rehearsed tone of the conversation made it clear that the purpose was less about genuine connection and more about brand building. Meghan came across as someone trying to check every box of what it means to be a strong woman in the public eye, talking about struggle, motherhood, and empowerment, but without any true emotion or depth behind her words. It was all too polished, too perfect, and most importantly, too fake.
God, Meghan, she has this really famous thing where she says one tap left eye.
That thing. But yeah, the war room, I guess it makes sense. Look, these people are in under a microscope and, they got to figure out what their messaging.
Really good thing to have as an actress. But you're completely right.
Joe Rogan, in his typically blunt manner, quickly realized what was really going on with Meghan's podcast appearance. He saw her attempt at vulnerability as nothing more than another PR campaign disguised as empowerment. The problem with Meghan's image is that it's been carefully curated for maximum media impact. Every emotional moment, every tear, every word is designed to make her appear relatable and human, something that her critics argue she's far from. Rogan exposed this by questioning the authenticity of her every move. Meghan's interview was, at its core, another piece of her ongoing media strategy to brand herself as a victim, a survivor, and a strong woman. But nothing about the conversation felt genuine. It was more about selling a narrative, and the audience saw right through it. Instead of empowerment, it felt like a marketing pitch dressed in vulnerability.
People who will tell her what she wants to hear. And so again, the level of delusion is off the scale. But just remember, Jamie Kern Lima sits down with Meghan Markle for 90 minutes, talks about what a wonderful businesswoman she is, what a wonderful friend.
While Meghan's words may have painted a picture of vulnerability and struggle, her body language told a very different story. Experts, including body language expert Scott Rouse, pointed out that Meghan's movements were stiff and unnatural. Her smile seemed forced, her eyes scanned for approval rather than showing genuine emotion, and her posture was rigid. Rather than giving off the impression of a woman who had overcome hardship, Meghan appeared to be trying to maintain control of her image and narrative. Rouse described her behavior as classic posturing, a sure sign of someone acting, not emoting. Rogan picked up on this, emphasizing that when someone is truly emotional, their body language naturally reflects it. Meghan's body language, however, was a clear indication that she was performing, not feeling. This was another red flag in her attempt to pass off a scripted performance as authentic vulnerability.
Questioning this, at the very least, I mean, I know she's her friend and I know it's a different type of format, but at the very least, she could have said, look, were they just lies? Were they people who were coming for you unfairly? But remember, we now live in this sort of dual world, don't we? Where there.
One of the most telling moments of Meghan's interview came when she signed a jar of homemade jam with the royal title Her Royal Highness, a title she no longer holds. Rogan was quick to point out the hypocrisy of the gesture, especially given that Meghan has repeatedly tried to distance herself from the royal family. The slip-up raised questions about her true intentions and whether she was still secretly holding on to her royal status. After stepping down from royal duties, Meghan has been vocal about wanting to move on from the monarchy, but this moment contradicted that narrative. Signing the jam with a royal title felt like a desperate attempt to maintain the image of the Duchess she once was. Joe Rogan called out the absurdity of this move, pointing out that you can't quit the royal family and then continue to act as though you're still a part of it.
And it's like Meghan's laughing at her about it. It's very, very bizarre. And unfortunately, Meghan is now, well, maybe it's fortunate for us because Meghan is now the executive producer of all of
In another misstep during her podcast, Meghan promoted wellness products that raised eyebrows across the internet. Specifically, her endorsement of a bath salt recipe she shared on Netflix was called into question after a woman claimed the product caused her severe burns and ulcers. Meghan, who has become increasingly involved in health and wellness branding, was criticized for promoting products without proper medical backing. Rogan pointed out how dangerous it is for celebrities to dish out health advice without the proper expertise. His concerns were valid. Celebrities like Meghan, who have massive platforms, carry the responsibility of ensuring that the products they endorse are safe and effective. Rogan joked that Meghan was no doctor, poking fun at her self-assumed role as a wellness guru. The incident highlighted the risks of influencers promoting unverified products, especially when they have no professional qualifications in the field.
So we see the real her. It's like, and oh my God, you made me laugh so much with Maureen and in your version of this thing, which is absolutely fantastic. You know the moment with Mindy Carr?
Joe Rogan didn't shy away from bringing up the long-standing rumors surrounding Meghan Markle's early Hollywood days. The whispers of Meghan attending high-profile yacht parties, rubbing shoulders with billionaires, and possibly even being connected to Jeffrey Epstein's circle have followed her for years. While there's no solid evidence to prove any of the claims, the rumors have never fully disappeared. Rogan raised the question of why Meghan works so hard to bury her past, especially when it continues to resurface in the public eye. Meghan's defenders often dismiss these rumors as sexist or malicious, but Rogan pointed out a deeper issue. Why does she constantly shut down any discussion of her past with such intensity? If there's nothing to hide, why not simply own it? Rogan's take on the rumors wasn't to accuse Meghan, but to question why she goes to such lengths to distance herself from them.
People thought that was some type of conspiracy theory, although I always believe conspiracy theories come true these days. Vanity Fair confirmed that in their big
Wait, that she's shopping her post-divorce memoir?
Yes.
What?
Throughout the years, Meghan Markle has worked tirelessly to craft an image of herself as a modern-day royal who's fighting for change, mental health awareness, and women's empowerment. However, the reality of her actions has often contradicted this image. Joe Rogan pointed out the glaring inconsistencies in Meghan's branding, how she constantly tries to present herself as a victim while simultaneously making multi-million-dollar deals with Spotify, Netflix, and other high-profile platforms. It's clear that Meghan wants privacy, but she continues to sell her story to the highest bidder. The disconnect between her public persona and private reality has become too obvious to ignore. The public is growing weary of the contradictions and the constant media circus. Meghan's attempt to remain relevant by playing both sides, seeking privacy while also profiting from her story, has led to a loss of credibility. Meghan Markle's recent podcast appearance with Jamie Kern Lima was meant to be a moment of vulnerability and empowerment. Instead, it turned into a PR disaster that exposed her carefully curated image as nothing more than a performance. Joe Rogan's candid critique peeled back the layers of Meghan's emotional display, revealing the lack of authenticity beneath the surface. From her fake tears to her inconsistency with royal titles, the public is becoming increasingly disillusioned with the persona Meghan is trying to sell. Whether it's her wellness advice, her past rumors, or her over-the-top praise of Harry, Meghan's branding efforts are starting to feel more like a marketing campaign than genuine self-expression. The world is tired of the contradictions and the constant drama. If Meghan wants to regain her credibility, she'll need to move away from scripted performances and find a way to connect with the public on a more real and relatable level.